Hi, this is Scott with 4D Tech. Today we'll be working on a 2016 Ford Escape Sync 3 equipped, and we'll be upgrading it to include navigation as well. In order to do this, we need a few basic tools. Phillips and flathead screwdriver, a 7mm nut driver, and a plastic pry tool or variety of for dash removal. To get started, we will remove the dash. On the Ford Escape, we will start by removing the upper part of the dash here, unsnapping the clips carefully using our pry tool. You want to get the dash started and just simply work your way around to release the clips. Once you have everything unclipped, there will be a connector up top here that you'll want to push in the tab and unplug. Be sure to remember anything that you unplugged so you can plug it back in later during reassembly. For this panel, I'm going to simply swivel it out of our way, but be careful when you're setting it on top of your dash that you don't drag the clips across the top of your dash and scratch it. Next, we will take our 7mm nut driver and remove the two screws that we exposed in the top of the plastic front bezel. Now we will take our plastic pry tool and use it to begin to release this plastic bezel on the front of the dash that surrounds the screen. You basically just want to put outward pressure on the panel while you pry to release the clips. Once the clips are released, we'll want to lift this dash bezel out of the way. And there will be a connector plugged into the back of the controls. There's a little plastic retention piece on the wire that will simply pry out. And that will show us the connector. There's a little tab on the bottom of the connector, and slide it out. Once again, remember that you've unplugged that so that you can plug it back in later. Now that we have the screen exposed, we are going to remove the 4 7mm screws around the screen. Once the 4 screws are out, carefully pull the screen forward and we will turn it so that we can get it disconnected. There are 3 things that need to be unplugged: the antenna connection, the USB connection, and the main connector. The antenna connection has a little clip just on the bottom side of it where you'll push up on the clip and pry out to slide it off. The USB connection has a clip on the top. Push that in and unplug that. And now you will see this main connector here. Now this main connector has this gray lever that locks the connector in plugged in. There's a little retention tab there that we'll push in so that we can rock the lever towards us. You'll pull the lever completely towards you to unseat the connector. When it's at its furthest position, simply slide the connector out. And now our screen with our APIM brain that we are replacing is removed from the vehicle. Next, we will need to remove the APIM brain from the back of the screen to replace it with the new one included in our kit. The easiest way to do this is to set it face down on a soft surface like the seat of your vehicle or on a bench or counter using the foam that came in the box with the module. In this case, so that you can see what I'm doing on camera, we are going to put a cloth in the opening and set the screen in. First, I'm going to disconnect the cable that goes from the brain to the screen by pushing in this little tab on the top and sliding that out and out of the way. There are 3 Phillips screws that need to be removed. Now that the non-navigation brain has been removed from the back of the screen, we're going to take our 4D Tech supplied navigation equipped Sync 3 brain and put it in its place. All you need to do is just snug these screws up. Be sure to plug the screen connector back in. When you plug back in connectors, you always want to push them in till you hear the tab click into place to be sure that they're fully seated. Now we are just going to do the reverse of the removal procedure and put this back in with the nav equipped brain. Now the connector that you want to be most careful of is the main connector here. You want to make sure that it becomes fully seated in, or else the brain will not power up. Before you plug it in, make sure the lever is still fully towards you. Slide it into the back of the brain, and you will see the lever start to move. And then push the lever to click it past the retention clip to lock it completely in place. You will see that this triangle tab here is completely seated up against the connector on the brain. That means it's completely plugged in. We'll take this USB connector, clip up, and plug it into the black USB port on the APIM. And then the last connection to be plugged back in is the GPS antenna connection. Once again, plug everything in until you hear the clip. Now we will replace the screen in the dash with the 4 screws we removed. Now that the screen is mounted back at the dash, we will replace the dash panels. As I'd mentioned earlier, be sure to plug back in anything that you unplugged during the removal procedure. Just some pressure to push all the clips back in. Once everything's firmly seated, we'll replace the 2 upper screws that we removed. top of the dash. Be sure to plug the connector back in that was unplugged. Line up the clips and snap it back on. Now when we start our vehicle, you will see that it'll boot to navigation. And now we have a navigation equipped Ford Escape that previously did not have navigation. This should show you how simple it is to upgrade your non-navigation Sync 3 Ford vehicle to Sync 3 with navigation.